You need to understand your position in this organization." Christopher Morrison didn't even look up when he said it. His fingers were busy straightening papers on his desk, making sure every edge lined up perfect. We were sitting in conference room 3A at Apex Defense Technologies, the one with the broken air conditioning and that persistent smell of burnt coffee that never quite went away. I'm Andrew Patterson Drew to most people, 49 years old, and I've been keeping this company's cybersecurity systems locked down tight for 18 years. That morning, I thought I was just going to another routine compensation review. Turns out I was about to learn exactly what 18 years of loyalty and a top-secret clearance was worth to them. Chris slid a paper across the table. His watch caught the fluorescent light. Expensive, probably cost more than my monthly truck payment. "This outlines your updated compensation structure for the upcoming fiscal year," he said in that flat HR voice they all perfect after years of delivering bad news. I looked down at the document. Senior Cybersecurity Engineer, 18-year service record. Merit increase 2.7%. Below that, in smaller print, like they hoped I wouldn't notice, compensation aligned with organizational equity standards. I'd seen that phrase before. It was corporate speak for "we've decided what you're worth, and arguing won't change our minds." 2.7%. I said quietly, "Correct. That falls within the standard range for senior technical staff." I leaned back in that uncomfortable chair. The Navy taught me patience, how to stay calm under pressure. 8 years as a cryptographer gave me that discipline, but this wasn't a system breach or emergency incident response. This was something different, something that felt like getting sucker punched. "What about Jordan?" Chris's pen stopped moving for just a second. Then he forced a smile that looked like it hurt. "I'm not sure what you're asking. Jordan Walsh, the new digital operations director. He started 11 months ago." The smile got tighter. "I can't discuss another employee's compensation with you, Drew. You know that. He's making almost double my salary, isn't he?" Chris set his pen down carefully, buying time. "Jordan brings different qualifications to the organization. He has an MBA from a prestigious business school. He has strategic vision that aligns with executive objectives." I let those words hang there for a moment. Different qualifications. In the Navy, qualifications meant you could decrypt enemy communications when lives depended on it. You either knew how to trace network intrusions under pressure, or you didn't. You could secure classified systems during active threats, or you couldn't. There wasn't any MBA that taught you how to keep defense contractors safe when foreign hackers started probing your perimeter. And I have 18 years of securing every defense system this company runs. I said evenly. I've personally prevented at least 25 major security breaches that could have compromised classified data. I've saved this company millions in avoided penalties and contract cancellations. But Jordan has an MBA, so that's worth twice as much. Different roles command different market rates, Chris said, his voice getting that careful HR neutrality. Leadership positions are benchmarked differently than technical positions. So cybersecurity expertise is worth half of what a business degree is worth, even when that expertise is literally keeping our defense contracts secure. Drew, I understand you're frustrated. I'm not frustrated, I interrupted. I'm clarifying, because it sounds like you're telling me that someone with zero understanding of our security infrastructure, zero experience with classified systems, and zero contribution to actually protecting anything is worth twice what I am. I just want to make sure I'm hearing that correctly. Chris folded his hands on the table, professional, controlled, unmoved by logic or fairness. We benchmark compensation against external market data. Leadership roles command premium salaries. Credentials matter. Translation, know your place. I thought about my kids, Sarah and Matthew, both still in school. Sarah was a junior at State University, tuition $32,000 this year. Matthew was a high school senior planning for college applications. I thought about the child support payments to my ex-wife, Jennifer, $1,900 every month like clockwork. I thought about the health insurance premiums that kept going up, the 401 key that had taken a beating in the last market downturn, the fact that I was 49 years old and supposedly in my peak earning years. Then I reached into my bag. Chris tensed slightly, probably thinking I was pulling out a legal document or a list of grievances. Instead, I took out a single piece of paper, folded once, and placed it on top of his compensation document. My resignation letter. His eyes dropped to it. I watched the blood drain from his face as he read the first line. Effective immediately, I resign from my position as Senior Cybersecurity Engineer at Apex Defense Technologies. Drew, he started, voice cracking. I sent a copy to your inbox at 9:47 a.m., I said calmly. You'll see it when you check your email, along with copies to my direct manager, the facility security officer, and the VP of operations. He blinked at the signature, at the date, at words that couldn't be taken back or negotiated away. You don't need to make this decision right now. This is a significant step. Talk to your manager. Sleep on it. We can revisit the numbers. I've been sleeping on it for 18 years, I said, standing up. This is me waking up. Chris opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. But you told me to understand my position in this organization, I said, picking up my bag, so I do. And my position is somewhere else. I left the resignation letter on the table and walked out. The click of the conference room door closing behind me was the most satisfying sound I'd heard in years. Let me back up and tell you how a quiet, underpaid cybersecurity engineer and one dismissive sentence in an HR meeting turned into the most expensive 50 minutes in Apex Defense Technology's history. My name is Andrew Patterson. I'm 49 years old, divorced father of 2 kids who are counting on me for their future. I don't have an MBA. I don't have an Ivy League degree. What I have is an engineering degree from a state university, 8 years in the Navy working on classified communication systems, and 18 years of institutional knowledge about defense cybersecurity so complex that it required constant vigilance just to keep it secure. The Navy shaped how I approach everything. When you're responsible for keeping communication networks operational on a nuclear submarine, you learn that people's safety depends on systems working exactly as designed. You don't get to blame someone else when encryption fails during operations. You don't get to make excuses when network security breaks down in the middle of a mission. You fix it, document what went wrong, and make sure it doesn't happen again. That discipline served me well when I started at Apex Defense Technologies in 2006, right after I finished my degree on the GI Bill. Back then, they were a mid-sized defense contractor trying to compete with cybersecurity firms 10 times their size. On paper, they provided network security for aerospace and defense contractors. In reality, they ran a collection of security systems held together with outdated protocols, manual patches, and the desperate prayers of 2 exhausted technicians. The company had contracts with major defense firms, aerospace contractors, and government agencies. Their networks protected classified data for missile guidance systems, aircraft communications, and precision targeting systems. When those systems got compromised, real people lost clearances. Contracts got canceled. Security investigations collapsed, everything. My interview was with Timothy Rodriguez, the IT director at the time, who'd built his career on actual security work before getting promoted into management. He understood that cybersecurity wasn't just about installing firewalls and hoping for the best. Can you keep these networks from getting hacked? He asked, gesturing at a printout of our security incidents that looked more like a disaster timeline than a protection plan. Depends, I said. Can I actually implement changes, or will I just be putting out fires? If you can justify the upgrades, he said, you can make them. He hired me that afternoon. For the first month, I just observed. I sat in on incident response calls, read vulnerability reports, traced network traffic patterns, talked to the administrators who'd been there long enough to know where all the problems were buried. The pattern was clear: reactive security, no proactive monitoring, and documentation that was either missing or dangerously outdated. The second month, I started documenting attack patterns, not theoretical threats, but real intrusion attempts that had actually happened. Every time someone tried to breach our systems, I wrote it down: what they targeted, how they tried to get in, what the warning signs were, whether our response actually fixed the vulnerability or just delayed the next attempt. By the third month, I'd identified 22 critical vulnerabilities in our defense networks. I documented them, quantified the risk, estimated the cost to fix versus the cost of successful penetration. When I presented it to Tim, he asked the only question that mattered: how much to fix all of this? 16 months of dedicated work, I said, and the authority to lock down systems when security requires it. You have both, he said. I rebuilt the monitoring systems first, because you can't prevent attacks you can't see coming. Created dashboards that showed not just whether networks were running, but how close they were to compromise. Traffic patterns, access attempts, credential usage, all the early warning signs that let you respond to threats instead of just cleaning up after breaches. Then I rebuilt the access controls properly. Real authentication, automated threat response, comprehensive audit logging. By the end of year 1, we had actual visibility into our security posture. By year 2, I'd trained 3 junior analysts on proper incident response procedures. By year 3, I was the person everyone called when things went sideways. Not because I was officially on call, but because I was the only one who'd seen these specific attack vectors before. I became the institutional memory nobody wanted to admit they depended on. And for a while, that was fine. The company grew. We added more contracts, more complexity. Revenue increased from $78 million to $142 million over my tenure. The board was happy. Executives got their bonuses. I got a 3.1% raise and a coffee mug that said Cyber Guardian. I didn't complain, not because I didn't care, but because I believed that eventually competence would be recognized. That good work would be rewarded. That loyalty would be returned. That was my first mistake. The shift started 2 years ago when Apex Defense decided it needed to modernize its digital transformation initiatives. That was the phrase used by the new CEO, Vincent Romano, former consulting executive brought in by the board to scale operational efficiency. Vincent loved words like optimize and streamline and leverage synergies. He did not love words like threat assessment or security protocols, or that's going to get us breached if we don't address it properly. Within 6 months of Vincent taking over, the company started hiring differently. Less emphasis on people who understood how systems worked, more emphasis on people who could make things sound impressive in board meetings. We got managers with MBAs who'd never configured a firewall. We got directors who could talk about driving digital excellence but couldn't explain what a security certificate actually protected. We got consultants billing $720 an hour to tell us we should implement agile cybersecurity frameworks. And we got Jordan Walsh, MBA from a top-tier business school, 6 years at a strategy consulting firm, 0 cybersecurity background. His title, Digital Operations Director. His job, align security initiatives with business objectives and drive strategic optimization of legacy processes. Translation: make everything sound good in PowerPoint presentations while people like me did the actual work. I discovered the pay disparity by accident, and it hit me like a physical blow. I was looking for a network diagram Michelle Anderson had promised to upload when I clicked the wrong file. Jordan Walsh's offer letter. Base salary $145,000. Signing bonus $25,000, annual bonus target 20%, stock options 15,000 shares. I stared at those numbers for a long time. Then I opened my most recent pay stub. Base salary $84,600, no signing bonus, annual bonus target 3%, which I'd received exactly once in 18 years. Stock options 1,800 shares from my original offer. Nothing since. 11 months at the company. 0 cybersecurity knowledge. 0 systems saved from compromise, making 71% more than I was. The math was simple, and it was devastating. I closed both files and sat there in my cubicle for a very long time, staring at the security monitoring screens that suddenly seemed meaningless. The facility hummed around me, servers running, networks flowing, people doing jobs that suddenly felt pointless. That evening, I went home to my apartment and did something I hadn't done in 7 years. I updated my resume, really updated it. Not just the annual courtesy refresh for HR files. I documented every major system I'd secured, every breach I'd prevented, every innovation I'd implemented that saved the company money or avoided penalties. The list was longer than I expected. The advanced persistent threat I'd stopped in 2019, the insider threat I'd detected in 2021, the zero-day exploit I'd patched before it could spread, the monitoring program that reduced successful intrusions by 89% while catching 94% more potential threats before they could escalate. I sent my resume to 4 recruiters I'd been ignoring for years. Within 48 hours, my phone was ringing. Within 2 weeks, I had 6 serious offers. Within 3 weeks, I'd accepted 1. Principal Security Architect at CyberGuard Solutions, $109,000 base salary, 18% bonus target, real stock options. All I needed was the right moment to leave Apex Defense. Chris gave it to me. By 10:15 a.m., my security badge had been flagged for deactivation. By 10:22 a.m., my system access was being revoked across 31 classified environments. By 10:28 a.m., I'd cleared my desk, boxed up my tools in that coffee mug that said Cyber Guardian, and walked past 8 colleagues who suddenly became very interested in their computer screens. By 10:35 a.m., the first critical alert started screaming. Here's what most people don't understand about complex cybersecurity infrastructure. It's not like a computer where you can run diagnostics and see what's broken. It's more like a human immune system, interconnected defenses that depend on each other in ways that aren't always obvious. When something goes wrong, the symptoms can show up anywhere, and finding the root cause requires knowing how all the pieces fit together. I'd been that institutional memory for 18 years. Every custom configuration, every undocumented security rule, every workaround that had become critical infrastructure, it was all in my head, backed up by encrypted notes I kept on a secure drive. The drive they didn't know existed. By 10:43 a.m., every security analyst in the building was in emergency mode. The primary threat detection system was throwing cascading false positives, not complete failure. That would have been obvious. Instead, it was degrading, slowly missing critical attack signatures while generating useless alerts at an exponential rate. Nicholas Brown, the junior analyst I'd been mentoring, was on duty. Poor kid was 26 years old with 14 months of experience, suddenly responsible for networks he'd only seen from the outside. He checked the standard operating procedures I'd written 3 years ago, but the procedures covered normal threat scenarios. This wasn't normal. What was happening was a memory leak in the threat correlation engine triggered by a specific combination of network load and signature updates. I'd seen it exactly once before, 13 months earlier during a particularly heavy attack campaign when the system was under maximum stress. I documented the solution in my personal notes, along with the monitoring parameters needed to detect it early. The notes that were now sitting in my truck. Nick escalated to Michelle Anderson, our senior security analyst. Michelle was smart, dedicated with 7 years of experience, but she'd never seen this particular failure mode because I'd fixed it quietly the last time, added some monitoring to catch it early, and moved on to the next crisis. Michelle did everything right. She opened diagnostic panels, examined log files, looked for patterns. She could see the symptoms, detection rates dropping, false positive rates climbing, response times increasing, but she couldn't see the cause. At 11:23 a.m., Jordan Walsh walked into the Security Operations Center. In my mind, I could picture him perfectly, pressed khakis, button-down shirt, that slight smile that said he was about to solve everything with process optimization. "Why are the security metrics red?" he asked. "We're investigating a threat detection issue," Michelle replied, not looking up from her screens. "Investigating doesn't help our compliance schedules. Can't you just restart the system?" I can only imagine the look Michelle gave him. In cybersecurity, just restart is like a surgeon saying just cut it out without knowing what they're cutting. You can make things much worse very quickly. "We need to identify the root cause first," Michelle said. "If we restart without understanding the problem, we could disable critical protections or lose forensic data. How long will that take? I don't know." This isn't a standard failure mode. Jordan pulled out his phone. "I'm calling Vincent." Vincent Romano arrived 18 minutes later. I knew him well enough to picture his reaction, the carefully controlled expression that meant he was calculating reputational damage, the way he'd scan the room to identify who he could blame if this became a board-level problem. "Where's Drew?" he asked. The question I'd been waiting for? "He resigned this morning." Jordan said, "Over a compensation dispute." I would have paid money to see Vincent's face in that moment. "You let him walk today. I didn't let him do anything," Jordan said defensively. He made an emotional decision. Vincent left the security center immediately. I know because at 11:55 a.m., he was standing in the parking lot making frantic phone calls. At 12:10 p.m., he was in his car racing across town. At 12:18 p.m. minus, exactly 50 minutes after I'd placed that resignation letter on Chris's desk, Vincent Romano was standing outside my apartment building, knocking on my door like someone whose entire world was falling apart. Which, technically, it was. "Drew," he said, not bothering with pleasantries when I opened the door. "We need you back immediately." I looked at him through the gap in my doorway. His normally perfect suit was wrinkled, tie loosened, hair disheveled. This was a man who prided himself on control, on having backup plans for backup plans. Seeing him rattled was almost worth 18 years of being undervalued, almost. "I don't work there anymore," I said. "I know, but our primary security systems are completely degraded. We have $2.8 million worth of defense contracts at risk. Nobody can figure out why the threat detection is failing." "That sounds like your problem, not mine." His jaw clenched. "Drew, please, just for today. We'll pay you consulting rates, whatever you want." I shook my head slowly. "No, why not?" Because 50 minutes ago, your company made it very clear what I'm worth to them. So now you get to learn what your security systems are worth without me. I closed the door and turned the deadbolt. Vincent knocked 6 more times, each series more desperate than the last. Then I heard his footsteps retreating down the hallway, probably back to his car, back to a crisis that was getting worse by the minute. I made myself a cup of coffee and sat down to fill out onboarding paperwork for CyberGuard Solutions. The outage lasted 72 hours. I didn't watch it happen in real time, but I heard about it later from Michelle Anderson, who was still willing to talk to me after everything settled. By 2 p.m., 4 major compliance audits were at risk. By 4 p.m., Vincent had called an emergency cyber response, a crisis consulting firm that specialized in security recovery. The lead consultant spent 8 hours examining our systems and finally admitted what everyone already knew. Without the original security architect, this could take days or weeks to fully understand and stabilize. The consulting firm worked through the weekend. They brought in 12 specialists, set up a command center, and started systematically going through every piece of our security infrastructure at $680 per hour per consultant. The bill was climbing toward $245,000 before they'd even identified the problem. The breakthrough came at 3:47 a.m. Sunday, when Nick finally remembered something I'd mentioned casually 9 months earlier. There was an old technical document buried in our internal knowledge base, something I'd written after a similar incident years ago: critical security system dependencies and recovery procedures. It had everything: the memory leak issue, the specific diagnostic queries, the exact sequence of steps needed to recover without triggering secondary failures. Nick followed my documentation step by step. It worked. Systems stabilized. Networks secured. The consultants packed up and sent a bill for $245,000. The crisis was over, but the damage was done. The aftermath unfolded over the next 4 months, and I watched it from the comfortable distance of my new job at CyberGuard Solutions. Within the first week, 3 major defense contracts worth a combined $31 million were terminated. The security failures had triggered penalty clauses that cost Apex Defense another $1.8 million. Vincent called an emergency board meeting. 4 executives were asked to pursue other opportunities. Jordan Walsh was quietly reassigned to a business development role with no operational authority. Chris Morrison was terminated for what they called organizational restructuring, though everyone knew it was because he'd managed to lose the most valuable employee in the company over a $30,000 salary difference. Stephen Wilson reached out to me 4 weeks after the incident. Professional email, carefully worded. He offered $132,000 base salary, 16% annual bonus, title bump to principal security engineer. Direct reporting to him instead of through middle management. "I know we failed you," the email said. "I'm asking for a chance to make it right." I read it twice, then responded, "I appreciate the offer, but I've already started at my new company. I'm happy here. I hope you can rebuild your security program successfully," because I was happy. CyberGuard Solutions was everything Apex Defense wasn't. The CTO, Dr. Amanda Taylor, had spent 14 years doing actual security work before moving into leadership. She understood that cybersecurity wasn't a business problem you could solve with strategy meetings and PowerPoint presentations. "What's the worst breach you ever prevented?" she asked during my final interview. I told her about the advanced persistent threat we'd stopped in 2019 minus how I'd tracked suspicious network behavior through 6 different system logs and identified the attack vector before it could compromise classified data. She nodded slowly. "If you join us, that kind of knowledge won't sit in someone's head or personal notes. It'll be documented, shared, and built into our processes. We've learned that talented people leave. When they do, we need to make sure the organization retains what they knew." Starting salary, $139,000 bonus target, 18%. Stock options, 14,000 shares. But more than the money, it was respect. On my first day, Amanda introduced me to the security team. "This is Drew Patterson. He's joining us as principal security architect. He has more real-world defense experience than most of us combined. When he tells you something about threat detection, listen, because he's earned that authority through 18 years of keeping critical systems secure. No qualifiers. No, he's just a technical person. Just respect." Within 8 months, I'd rebuilt their monitoring infrastructure using everything I'd learned at Apex Defense, but properly documented this time. Within a year, I'd trained 5 other architects to the point where they could handle major incidents independently. Not because I was trying to make myself replaceable, but because I was building something sustainable. Today, I'm Principal Security Architect at CyberGuard Solutions. I make $151,000 base salary. My bonus last year was $27,000. When we go public next year, my stock options will set me up for a very comfortable retirement. But more than the money, I have something Apex Defense never gave me: respect. When I say something's vulnerable, people listen. When I document a procedure, it becomes required reading. When I suggest we need to slow down and do something right, nobody tells me to understand my position. Because my position is exactly where expertise should be, at the table with a voice being heard. 18 months later, I got an email from Stephen Wilson. Subject line: consulting opportunity. They wanted to bring me in as an external consultant for quarterly security reviews and knowledge transfer sessions. The proposed rate, $275 per hour. I thought about it for exactly 50 minutes. Then I said yes, not because I needed the money, but because I wanted to see if they'd actually learned anything. They had. The executive team that had dismissed me was gone. The new leadership understood that cybersecurity expertise wasn't just another line item in the budget. It was the foundation everything else was built on. My first consulting session was in the same conference room where Chris had told me to understand my position. Different faces around the table now, but the same burnt coffee smell in the air. The new security director, Patricia Morgan, introduced me to the team. This is Drew Patterson, our external security consultant. He designed most of the systems we're still using today. He's here to help us avoid the mistakes that cost us $33 million last year. No one questioned my recommendations. No one suggested I didn't understand the business objectives. When I said something needed to be fixed, they asked how quickly we could get it done. After the meeting, Patricia walked me to my car. "I read the incident reports from when you left," she said. "I'm sorry about how you were treated. That should never have happened." I nodded. "The important thing is you learned from it." We did, and we're making sure it doesn't happen again. Sometimes it's not about revenge. Sometimes it's just about respect. And when your kids call to say they're proud of how you handled everything, when you can sleep at night knowing you stood up for yourself, that's worth more than any consulting fee. The CEO knocking on your door 50 minutes later wasn't victory. It was just confirmation that you were right all along. Your expertise doesn't become more valuable the moment you walk away. It was always that valuable, and the right people knew it. The difference is that some organizations need to lose what they can't afford to lose before they learn to value what they should have treasured. Your value isn't determined by what they're willing to pay you, it's determined by what happens when you're no longer there to provide it. The most expensive lesson a company can learn is the difference between what they think someone is worth and what that person is actually worth to them.